Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Chairman. My pleasure to present a Markov chain model to describe the outcome of COVID-19 pneumonia that we performed in the Outcome REA network. As you know, data about the outcome of ICU patients is very heterogeneous in COVID-19 epidemic because of various indication of ICU admission and heterogeneity of indication of mechanical ventilation. And also most study were performed very early with only short-term follow-up and a lot of informative sensor. If we look to meta-analysis, the pooled ICU admission rate is about 21%, but if you look to the numbers, it goes from 4% to more than 48%. The invasive mechanical ventilation represents 69% of the cases in mean, but it goes from 29 to 94%. The ICU mortality is about 28.3%, but once again, it goes from 1 to 61%. And the mortality of patients that have been invasively mechanically ventilated is 43%, but it goes to 3.1, from 3.1 to 97%. That's why it is important to have clear-cut data using stabilized database in order to understand the mechanism and the data about outcome of this disease. We used the prospective cohort of the Outcome REA group with a full prospective data monitoring of 437 patients, COVID-19 patients. We exclude a few patients with nosocomial acquisition and some missing states. And we use for this analysis 395 patients from 11 French ICUs all over France. The standard of care was quite stabilized. At the very beginning of the disease, the antiviral drugs were used as often as possible. In the group, and very importantly, we used delayed invasive ventilation as often as possible with the use of high flow oxygenation, CPAP, non-invasive ventilation as often as possible. We perform a careful monitoring of bacterial, viral, and fungal superinfection in order to plan early therapy in these patients. Corticoid therapy was left at the appreciation of the attending physicians in this cohort. You look at the data, the main characteristics of the patients that will be used in the Markov model. Of course, there was about 3/4 of male patients, age 61, a lot of patients with high BMI. The number of days between the first symptoms and ICU admission is about 10 days. The SAPS-2 is 33. The Charleston score is positive, is more than 0 in about 2/3 of the patients. CRP is quite high, lymphocyte is quite low, and as in many studies in ICU, the temperature more than 38 only is present in about 1/4 of the cases. The treatment on day Y consists with hydroxychloroquine, lopinavir-ritonavir, tocilizumab, or anakinra, and you see the numbers here. And for corticosteroid therapy, initially we use corticosteroids in 1/4 of the patients, 8% with low dose and about 18% with high dose. That is to say 20 milligrams of dexamethasone day 1, day 5, and then 10 milligrams of dexamethasone between day 6 and day 10. We used a Markov model, as it was shown in the title, with 6 states. We will go in detail after, and 17 possible transitions. The transitions were modeled using the Nelson-Allen estimator for the cumulative intensities in a non-parametric analysis. The risk factor associated with each transition from one state to another were calculated and estimated using separate Cox models. And for each transition, a p-value of less than 0.2 was retained as risk factor at the first step. And we finished the stepwise elimination using the Bayesian factor at the end. And the model include risk factor only for 10 out of 17 transition due to the number of patients in each transition. The impact of early corticosteroid therapy was tested using a G computation approach, that is to say the probability of being in each state under corticosteroids and its counterfactual probability. And confidence interval were estimated by probabilistic sensitivity analysis methods using 500 iteration. Here is a model, and you see that the number is the number of transition here, and the number of patients that goes from one transition, from one state to another. And here, of course, we have invasive mechanical ventilation, non-invasive ventilation, and oxygenation, ECMO, ICU discharge, and two absorbing states that are hospital discharge and death. If you look to non-parametric estimate and the occurrence of all the state with time, from time 0 to time 60 of ICU admission, you look at the initial state on admission, it was non-invasive oxygenation or non-invasive ventilation for 2/3 of the patients, invasive ventilation initially for about 30% of the patients, and ECMO at day 1 for 6% of the patients. In red, you have dying patients. In orange, ICU ECMO. In yellow, ICU invasive. In green, you have ICU invasive, and in the other green, you have ICU discharge and hospital discharge. If you start overall, the ICU population, the day 60 estimated mortality was about 34%. And interestingly, it was largely different from ICU non-invasive at day 0, where the mortality is about 26.9%. For patients that start at ICU invasive, it is 46%. And for patients starting under ECMO, the mortality is at day 60 of 60%. If you look at the transition and the risk factors for transition, it is very traditional risk factors that has been kept in models. You see HAES, the ISAPS, the ISOFA score, the CRP level, the lymphocyte count, the leukocyte count, where the Charlson score were associated with all the transition. Interestingly, the use of corticosteroids was significantly associated with the transition from ICU non-invasive to ICU invasive. That is to say that corticosteroid delayed and is associated with a lower risk of being invasively mechanically ventilated. There was no significant impact of any of the antiviral drugs that we used in the cohort. If you look to each probability of state using the G computation, you have in blue the corticosteroid therapy at day 1, and in red the absence of corticosteroid therapy at day 1. And if you look here in ICU invasive, indeed the corticosteroid therapy is able to delay the risk of invasive mechanical ventilation. You see it is maximal around day 6, but at the end the risk of invasive mechanical ventilation was quite similar between corticoid and no corticoid at day 1 patients. For death, there was a very small decrease in mortality when using corticosteroid therapy. If you look at the numbers and at the J computation using stacked plot, you see here the risk for death, and it was 31.2 for corticosteroid patients and 33.6 for no corticoid therapy patients, with a difference of about 2.4% in the risk of dying, which is a non-significant difference. If you look to all point here, day 10, day 28, and day 60, and if you look to all the transition, here death, of course, you see the same results. And for hospital discharge, there was a decrease, the increase of the rate of patients hospitally discharged at day 60 of 63.9 versus 61. The interpretation, using complete case and complete follow-up, the day 60 mortality is very different according to the day 1 status in oxygenation, 26%, 46%, and 60% under non-invasive ventilation and oxygenation, mechanical ventilation and ECMO. Corticosteroids used at day 1 significantly protect against transition from non-invasive ventilation and oxygenation to invasive mechanical ventilation, but day 60 benefit is not significant in only 2.7% in the probability of hospital discharge and ICU death. Similar to the benefits of recovery for patients under oxygen, but considerably lower than the benefit observed for mechanically ventilated patients in the recovery trial, and also in the WHO meta-analysis of interrupted randomized controlled trial, but probably in line with a negative trial of MEDCOVID that is not included in this meta-analysis. We did not observe difference between low and high dose corticosteroids, but the numbers are too small in order to fully be sure of these results. The limitation is, of course, that the Markov model only depends on the time and state where we are at a particular time point. There is no memory, and only day 1 covariate has been taken into account, and the semi-Markov model is ongoing at this time, and standard of care was in favor of daily intubation in all the participant ICU, probably decreasing the impact of corticosteroid therapy, because corticosteroid therapy probably delayed the requirement of invasive mechanical ventilation. In conclusion, considering available data, low-dose corticosteroid therapy should be included in the standard of care in ICU patients, but data about high-dose corticosteroid therapy, adverse events, long-term outcome are missing to really evaluate the magnitude and the potential heterogeneity of the corticosteroid effect. Thank you for attention.